Voters were heading to the polls in France on Sunday in an election that could frustrate President Emmanuel Macron's plans. This poll will determine whether Macron gets a working majority in Parliament or ends up without the support needed to drive through his reform agenda. Less than 2 months after his re-election, the president is facing a strong challenge from a united left-wing bloc. Polls suggest it could deprive Macron of an outright majority, even if it does not take control of Parliament. Hard left firebrand Jean-Luc Mélenchon is hoping to capitalise on anger in France over a rising cost of living. Government insiders expect a rather poor showing in Sunday's first round for Macron's ensemble coalition. Record numbers of voters are expected to abstain. Geography student Capucine Bourgin, speaking outside a polling station in Paris, described that as a pity.
Because during the presidential election, people really mobilized. I had queued here for an hour and a half, and today there is nobody. I think it is really a pity, because parliamentary elections are important. I hope the youth will go out and vote.
At risk is Macron's ability to pass his reform agenda, including pension changes he says are essential to restore public finances. His opponents on the left are pushing to cut the pension age and launch a big spending drive.
A bipartisan group of senators on Sunday announced an agreement on a framework for potential gun safety legislation, which included support from enough Republicans to overcome the Senate's filibuster rule. The bill included support for state red flag laws, tougher background checks for people under the age of 21, and a crackdown on a practice called straw purchases. But it did not include other limits that Democrats and President Joe Biden wanted, such as raising the age for buying semi-automatic rifles to 21, or new limits on assault-style rifles. 10 Republican senators signaled their support for the framework, indicating the bill potentially could advance to a vote and overcome roadblocks by other Republicans who oppose most gun control measures.
What are we doing?
In a statement, the bipartisan group's leaders, Democrat Chris Murphy and Republican John Cornyn, said, quote, "Our plan saves lives while also protecting the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans. We look forward to earning broad bipartisan support and passing our common-sense proposal into law." The agreement was announced a day after tens of thousands took part in rallies across the country to demand that lawmakers pass gun control legislation following high-profile mass shootings in Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, New York.
The summit in Madrid was never a deadline. At the same time, I would like to see this solved as soon as possible, and therefore we are working hard with our NATO ally Turkey, and also with Finland and Sweden to address those issues that Turkey has raised. And these are legitimate concerns. This is about terrorism, it's about weapons exports. And we have to understand and remember that no other NATO ally has suffered more terrorist attacks than Turkey. And I therefore also welcome the clear message from Finland and from President Sauli Niinistö and Sweden that actually they are ready to sit down to address those issues and then to find a way forward. It is the right decision for Finland and Sweden to apply for membership. That will strengthen their security, it will strengthen NATO, and it will strengthen security and stability throughout the Euro-Atlantic area.
Pope Francis has said sorry to the people and governments of South Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo after he was forced to cancel an African trip next month because of a problem with his knee. Speaking during his weekly address in St. Peter's Square, the pontiff said he was postponing the trip with great regret. "I ask you to pardon me for this," he said, adding that he wants to visit as soon as possible. The Vatican said the decision to cancel the July 2nd to 7th trip was taken at the request of the Pope's doctors. They have been treating him for a torn ligament in his knee. The trip to South Sudan and Congo in the summer heat would already have been difficult for the 85-year-old, even without mobility problems. It would have entailed 5 plane journeys and 3 masses that would have required him to remain standing for long periods. However, the cancellation means a visit to South Sudan, repeatedly postponed because of security concerns, has once again been put off.
The bodies of more than 200 Ukrainian fighters are still yet to be retrieved from the Azovstal steelworks in Mariupol. That's according to the former commander of Ukraine's Azov National Guard regiment in footage he posted on his Telegram channel on Sunday, weeks after Russia claimed full control of the southern port city. Maxim Zhorin said that under the terms of a recent exchange, 220 bodies of those killed in Azovstal had been sent to Kyiv.
Just as many bodies still remain in Mariupol, and now negotiations are going on about further exchange and returning them home. Absolutely all the bodies must be returned home, and we will work on this.
Hundreds of fighters holed up in the steelworks were taken into Russian custody in mid-May. However, many were also killed during Russian attacks on the plant and the city.
And now the very difficult work begins, very difficult processes regarding the identification of the bodies. The fact is that most of these bodies are in a very bad condition, and it is impossible to identify them visually, for example.
DNA testing and servicemen's uniforms and insignia will be used to help with the identification, Zorin said. Mariupol has been reduced to a wasteland after months of siege and bombardment that Ukraine says has killed tens of thousands of people.